You wake up with a weight in your chest. Nothing happened. No bad dream. No obvious reason. But something feels off. Wrong. Like the air itself has changed. You try to shake it off. Tell yourself you're being paranoid. But the feeling doesn't leave. It sits with you, waiting, and then the call comes. The message. The news you didn't want to hear. Al-Ghazali said this heaviness isn't anxiety. It's knowing. A form of awareness that arrives before the event, trying to prepare you for what's coming. Most people have felt this at least once. That strange, inexplicable sense that something is about to go wrong. Not based on evidence. Not based on logic. Just a feeling. A pull. A tightness that settles in your body and refuses to leave. You can't point to anything concrete. Nothing has changed in your external world. But internally, everything feels different. Heavier. Darker. Like you're standing on the edge of something you can't see. And the unsettling part is that you're usually right. Hours later, maybe days, something happens. An accident. A loss. A betrayal. Bad news that confirms what your body already knew. And in that moment, you realize you felt it coming. You didn't know what it was, but you felt it. The question is, how? How did you know before it happened? And why does this feeling only come before bad things, never good ones? Al-Ghazali lived in the 11th century, but his insights into human consciousness feel startlingly modern. He wrote extensively about intuition, premonition, and the soul's ability to perceive what the mind cannot. He said that most people live entirely in their heads, relying on reason, logic, and visible evidence to navigate the world. But the soul operates differently. It doesn't need proof. It doesn't need explanation. It just knows. And when danger is near, and something is about to shift, the soul sends signals. Not in words, not in thoughts, but in feelings, that weight in your chest, that knot in your stomach, that restlessness you can't explain. Al-Ghazali said these are not symptoms of anxiety. They're messages. The soul is trying to tell you something. It's trying to prepare you. But most people ignore it. They rationalize it away. They tell themselves they're overthinking, being irrational, letting their imagination run wild. And then, when the bad thing happens, they say, I had a feeling. As if the feeling was separate from them. As if it was random. But it wasn't random. It was information. And they dismissed it. You're going about your day. Everything seems normal. You're at work. You're running errands. You're talking to people. But underneath the surface, there's a hum. A frequency that feels wrong. You keep checking your phone. You text people you haven't talked to in a while, just to make sure they're okay. You feel an urge to call your mom, your sibling, your friend. Not because you have something to say, but because something inside you is pulling you toward them. And you don't understand why Al-Ghazali said that the soul is always receiving information. From the environment, from other people, from the unseen dimensions of reality that most of us are blind to. But the mind filters most of it out. It has to. If you consciously processed every signal your soul picked up, you'd be overwhelmed. So the mind selects. It prioritizes. It focuses on what seems immediately relevant. And it dismisses everything else as noise. But when something significant is about to happen, the signal gets stronger. Too strong to ignore. It bypasses the mind's filters and lands directly in the body. In the chest. In the gut. In the nervous system. You feel it before you think it. And that feeling, that premonition, is your soul's way of saying, pay attention. Something is coming. And you need to be ready. Not everyone experiences this. Or rather, not everyone notices it. Some people are so disconnected from their bodies, so entrenched in their thoughts, that they miss the signals entirely. They live in their heads, analyzing, planning, rationalizing. And by the time they realize something is wrong, it's already happened. But others, the ones who are more attuned, more sensitive, they feel everything. Every shift, every change, every disturbance in the energy around them. And it can be exhausting, because not every heavy feeling leads to disaster. Sometimes it's just noise, but sometimes it's not. Al-Ghazali wrote about the difference between fear and knowing. Fear is loud. It creates stories. It imagines worst-case scenarios. It spirals. It makes you anxious, restless, panicked. But knowing is quiet. It doesn't need to explain itself. It doesn't create narratives. It just sits there, heavy, certain, waiting, and that's how you can tell the difference. If the feeling is accompanied by racing thoughts, by what-ifs, by mental chaos, it's probably fear. But if the feeling is just a weight, a presence, a quiet certainty that something is coming, that's knowing. That's the soul speaking. You're sitting in a cafe. Your friend is talking. You're nodding, responding, but you're not fully there. Part of you is elsewhere, sensing, listening, and then your phone rings. And before you even look at the screen, you know it's bad news. You know something happened. And when you answer, when you hear the words, you're not surprised. You're confirmed. Because the feeling was already there. It arrived before the call. It was preparing you. This is what Al-Ghazali meant when he said the soul exists outside of time. That it's not bound by the same linear progression that governs the physical world. The mind experiences time as past, present, future. But the soul experiences time as now. All of it, simultaneously. And because of that, it can sense what's coming. Not because it's psychic. Not because it's magical. But because it's connected to a dimension of reality where future events already exist in potential form. And when that potential becomes strong enough, when it's about to collapse into reality, the soul feels it. You've probably experienced this in reverse too. You're thinking about someone you haven't thought about in years. And then, that same day, you run into them. Or they message you. Or someone mentions their name. Most people call this coincidence. But Al-Ghazali would say it's resonance. That your soul picked up on their energy before your mind registered it. That the meeting was already forming in the unseen, and your soul felt it before it materialized. But why does this feeling mostly come before bad things? Why not before good things? Al-Ghazali said it's because bad things require preparation. The soul knows that pain, loss, grief, these things can destabilize you. They can break you if you're not ready. So it sends warnings, not to scare you, but to brace you, to give you time to gather your strength, to center yourself, to prepare emotionally for what's coming. Good things don't require the same preparation. Joy can arrive suddenly, and you'll be fine. But sorrow, if it arrives without warning, can shatter you. You're lying in bed. It's late. Everything is quiet. And suddenly, you feel it. That pull, that heaviness. You sit up. Check your phone. Nothing. You walk around the house. Everything is fine. But the feeling persists. And you can't sleep. You lie there, staring at the ceiling, waiting. Because something in you knows. Something is coming. And the waiting is almost worse than the event itself. Because you don't know what it is. You just know it's not good. Al-Ghazali taught that this kind of knowing is a gift. Not a pleasant one, but a gift nonetheless. Because it means your soul is awake. It means you're attuned to the deeper currents of reality. It means you're not sleepwalking through life, oblivious to what's happening beneath the surface. And while it can be painful, while it can be heavy, it also means you're alive to the truth. That life is not just what you see. It's what you feel, what you sense, what you know without needing proof. Some people try to shut this down. They don't want to feel the heaviness. They don't want to know when something bad is coming. So they numb themselves. They distract. They stay busy. They keep the noise level high enough that the quiet knowing can't get through. And in some ways, it works. They stop feeling the premonitions. They stop sensing the shifts. But they also stop feeling everything else. They become dulled, disconnected, unaware. And when the bad thing happens, when it arrives without warning, it hits them harder. Because they weren't prepared. Because they refused to listen when the soul was trying to speak. Al-Ghazali said that avoidance doesn't protect you. It just makes you more vulnerable. That the soul's warnings are not meant to torment you. They're meant to prepare you. And when you honor them, when you acknowledge the feeling instead of dismissing it, you're not inviting disaster. You're meeting it with awareness. And awareness, even in the face of pain, is a form of strength. You're driving. Everything is fine. The road is clear. The weather is good. But you feel uneasy. You slow down. You become more cautious. You don't know why. And then, a few miles later, you see it. The accident. The cars. The flashing lights. And you realize, if you hadn't slowed down, if you hadn't listened to that feeling, you might have been in it. Al-Ghazali would say this is the soul guiding you, protecting you, steering you away from danger, even when your conscious mind doesn't understand. But not all premonitions are about physical danger. Some are about emotional danger, relational danger. You meet someone new. They seem nice, charming even, but something in you pulls back. A hesitation, a subtle discomfort, and you ignore it because they haven't done anything wrong, because you don't want to be judgmental. And months later, when they betray you, when they hurt you, you remember. You remember that initial feeling, that quiet knowing, and you wish you had listened. Al-Ghazali said the soul sees what the eyes miss, that it reads energy, intention, alignment. And when something or someone is misaligned with your path, the soul knows. It sends signals, discomfort, unease, a sense that something isn't right. And these signals are not paranoia. They're protection. But most people override them. They silence the soul in favor of logic, politeness, social expectation. And they pay the price later. The feeling doesn't always mean something catastrophic is coming. Sometimes it's smaller. A disappointment, a letdown, a shift in plans. But the soul doesn't differentiate between big and small. It just senses change. And change, even minor change, creates ripples in the energy around you. And if you're attuned, you feel those ripples before the change arrives. You're at a gathering. Everyone is laughing, talking, having a good time. But you feel separate, detached, like you're watching from behind glass. And you don't know why. There's no conflict, no drama, but something feels off. And later, you find out. Someone was lying. Someone was hiding something. Someone was pretending. And your soul knew. It sensed the dishonesty even when your mind saw nothing wrong. Al-Ghazali said that truth has a vibration. And so does deception. And when you're sensitive, you can feel the difference. Not intellectually, not through analysis, but through presence, through the quiet knowing that lives in your body. And the more you honor that knowing, the more accurate it becomes. The more you trust it, the more it protects you. The weight in your chest is not your enemy. The unease is not a flaw. A premonition is not a curse. It's your soul doing what it's designed to do, perceiving, sensing, knowing. And when you stop fighting it, when you stop rationalizing it away, When you finally listen, you realize you've always known. You've always felt it. The soul has been speaking all along. You just needed to learn its language. And that language is not words. It's sensation. It's feeling. It's the quiet, undeniable knowing that arrives without explanation. Al-Ghazali spent his life teaching people to trust that knowing, to honor it, to let it guide them. Because in a world full of noise, the soul's voice is the only one that never lies.